kind of appreciation and welcoming to everyone who is here. I am Bhante Varrapanyo. I am a 30-year-old American Buddhist monk, currently living at a monastery in California. I became a monk in 2018 when I moved from America to Thailand and ordained. And I have been living as a Buddhist monk since then, since 2018. But I got started on my journey of meditation and kind of the transformation of suffering, which is the main focus of Buddhism, in 2015 when I left my life as someone who worked and had an apartment and a relationship and all that to moving to stay at a monastery or a Buddhist temple in New Mexico, which was like a Zen meditation training center. So that's when I became a Buddhist and a meditator and did, this initial work to work on my suffering, and it's how I realized how much value Buddhism could bring to my life, and that I wanted to keep pursuing it, keep being involved with it. So um, this is very simply going to be an opportunity for some people to ask questions and get answers. And we'll just kind of see how this goes. So if you're listening, if you're following on Reddit, then you have two ways to ask a question, and that's to raise your hand. You can be brought up to the stage and ask a question with your voice. The same is true if you're watching on TikTok. There should be an option down below where you can kind of click it and then come up to the stage, and it's like a call-in radio show almost. And I'd be happy to hear your voice and try to answer your question. And then the other way is that you can just leave a comment and ask your question with a comment. But it is ideal if you can come up and kind of use your voice to ask a question that way, so that a little bit more of a direct connection and hearing someone's voice. And before we start answering questions and bringing people up, this Q&A or this Ask Anything is live on YouTube. So if you would like to see me, then you can go to the comments, and I put a comment there that has the link to the YouTube live stream. So you can see me, and the audio quality will be a little bit better, and you'll be able to see me as well. So yeah, let's get started, all right? So please raise your hand if you want to ask a question, and I'll bring you up to the stage. So I'm going to start with a Chief Mojo. I'll bring up Strauss and Valve as well. So come on up, everybody. You have a question, Valve? You have to unmute your mic when you come up to the stage. Ask a question.
You said that you are in some kind of relationship. Uh, you transitioned from a certain lifestyle where you kind of um, are in relationships and think about lust, and I think that now you're living a life of celibacy. What kind of steps did you take to make it so to be celibate? Was it hard? Was it not hard?
Yeah, so a question about celibacy and kind of transitioning to celibacy. It's not really any kind of absolute. So it's not like I become completely non-sexual or I can get rid of all my sexual energy or something like that. But it's more that I change my relationship to pleasure seeking and to how I see pleasure. So before I found Buddhism, before I became a monk, certainly, I had this idea that if something is pleasurable, then it's good. Then I want more of it. And, basically I just need to try and avoid pain and try to get more pleasure. But finding Buddhism and connecting with it taught me about this concept uh, of virtue, of ethics, of being a good person, of skillfulness versus unskillfulness as a whole, not just in relationship to what I desire or what I, want to try and avoid. So now when those sexual energies come up, I recognize that there is certainly a potential there for pleasurable experience, but there's also a potential there for a lot of suffering and difficulty. So I practice to notice and to be aware of those energies and then kind of take a step back. Okay, this energy is coming up. I'm aware of it. I see it, but I don't necessarily need to follow it. And I may never need to go back to sexual activity or pursuing sexuality anymore. And there's a freedom in that. So I'm not sure if that exactly answered your question, but it's an ongoing practice, how I relate to sexuality and how I work with sexuality. I will say that for most people, for a lot of people, a major issue um, for their life is that they don't have a lot of meaningful activities in their life. They don't have a lot of meaningful relationships. They don't have a lot of meaningful ways to engage societally. So when you don't have a lot of avenues for meaning in your life or kind of acting out in a way that brings um, benefit to yourself or to other people, especially socially, then what do you get meaning from? Well, you get meaning from eating, sleeping, and especially sexual activity and sexual experiences. So find a way to live a more meaningful life. Find a way to focus and prioritize doing good deeds rather than just fulfilling your desire.
That was very interesting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Val. And for all those people watching on TikTok, please go over to the YouTube channel if you want to hear in better quality audio and to see me as well because I'm live in the HD video on the YouTube channel. So please feel invited to go over there. All right, a chief, do you have your question ready? Same with the redditors. Just have to unmute your mic, chief. We'll bring up Big Yes Yes too, who is a member of society. Hello? Big Yes, are you there? Or a chief? Hello, hello. Goodness. Agent Pizza, do you have a question?
I think it was hard for me to spot the microphone icon.
Oh,
It's a little bit higher from the up voting in Reddit. Maybe that helps someone.
okay. A couple questions over on the YouTube. Exploding Dynamite says, "How old do you need to be to become a monk?" I believe it's 20 years. 20 years old. It's either 20 or 21. It should be 20, and that's how old you need to be to become a monk, like a fully ordained monk. But you can also become a novice under 20. So there are like kid monks, but they're not fully ordained monks. They're novices, novice monks. And another question was, are you a non-sectarian monk? If so, what school were you originally ordained under? Um, yeah, I've called myself a non-sectarian monk before. But I don't necessarily know what that is. I mean, for the Western people, of course, it's also a situation of, what is a monk? There's not really a clear context for the answering of that question in Western society, especially in America. Like, what is a monk? Well, they live in the forest, they meditate, it's kind of a vague notion. Whereas in Asia, a monk is a part of the Buddhist institution, and it's a part of the society and the culture, and it's a very like real thing. Whereas in the West, it's not necessarily so much. It's more experimental. But I ordained under a sect or a school of Buddhism in Thailand called the Dhammayutta Nikaya in Thailand, 2018. But I don't overly identify with any particular temple in Thailand or any particular group in Thailand. Okay. Did anyone else on Reddit figure out how to use their microphone, to unmute their microphone? Can't hear anybody.
Hello.
Yeah. Who's that? Who are you?
Agent Pizza Breath.
Okay, Pizza, go ahead.
How did if this is too personal to say, but like, how did becoming a monk affect like the relationships with like the people around you, like your family members
Yeah.
and friends and stuff?
Right. So, becoming a monk is a full spectrum life change. So I wasn't like living at home with a large family before I became a monk. But when I made the decision to become a monk, I moved out of the country. I started to live at a monastery in Thailand with other monks and shaved my eyebrows, shaved my head, only wore monks' robes, started to be in a culture, in a society that was completely built around this separation between monks and normal people. And then learning all of these, rules and regulations and how to carry myself and how to interact with other people from the position of a monk. So that experience led me to really redefining how I saw myself in a society and how I saw myself in relationship to other people, especially my family. And so I kind of went from being whoever I was and seeing myself however I saw myself to identifying as a monk, and taking that as my primary identity. My family really supports me a lot because they see the transformation that has happened in my life and in my heart and in my mind. So they're supportive. And yeah, I have probably a better relationship with them now than I did, 4 or 5 years ago before I became a monk. Okay. Thank you for your question, Ancient Pizza. Um, So Hazley has a question. They said, "How do you know if you're in a good relationship or bad?" It's how it makes you feel. For me, a good relationship is something that I feel at peace. I feel that there's not an overemphasis on transactional dynamics. So, like, you do this and I give you that, or, you do that, or I give you this and you give me that, these kinds of things. If there's a lot of focus on that, if there's a lot of reliance on that, I think that tends to be a sign of a problematic relationship. And also, there's a dimension of respect. So, like, a great relationship means that there are two people who deeply care for and respect one another. So, if you bring something up that is quite unexpected and quite different from what you've brought up in the past, if that's treated with care and consideration and respect, that's a good sign. If it's totally discarded, then that's a sign, you may want to consider if, that person is really taking care of you, and looking after you in the right way. But mostly we don't have to ask if a relationship is good or bad. We just need to be a little bit more aware. We need to bring that extra layer of like presence and awareness and mindfulness to that experience with that other person, and not get so caught up in our reactivity or how it has been or how it's expected to be, but to really be present with our breathing and with our awareness of our body, and just really being in the present moment and kind of experiencing what is there, with that other person. Is it tension? Is it comfortableness? Is it safety? So take more of an experimental approach to that relationship by bringing your mindfulness, your present moment awareness to that situation, and see how it goes. See what comes up. Couple more questions on the YouTube side of things. Mike said, "What do you think of the app called Waking Up?" I haven't checked it out too much, but I think it's generally good. The app that I recommend for everybody is called the Plum Village app. So search on your app store for Plum Village, and you'll find a very, very high level resource for getting into meditation and Buddhist philosophy and practice. Plum Village app. You can search for it on your app store. Okay. Is anyone else here on the stage ready to use their microphone? Anyone's mic working?
I managed to
Yeah,
fix mine.
I can hear you.
So, I know their symbol. It's called the manji. What meaning does it have to you?
I have no idea what a manji is, and the meaning it has to me is vagueness, because I don't know about that. Never heard about that before.
Okay.
Yeah, try to be just in general in living, try to really know about your own experience and share about your own experience. It's not directly related to you, big yes, but I remember before I got into Buddhism and before I got into any kind of like a positive way of dealing with my life or dealing with my suffering, I was very into debating Christian people, debating about God. Does God exist or not? And, I gave a lot of attention and energy to that fight, that friction, these kinds of things. But when it comes down to it, what is God is such an interesting, contemplative, open-ended question. I mean, what do we mean by God? And then you say, "What are you talking about? I just mean this." Well, isn't God supposed to be like all encompassing, like to have so much depth and richness and truth, and like so it's not like a vague notion, or it's not just like a few words that we put together and say God is this, or a manji. I don't even know what a manji is, but even words that all of us kind of have a basic understanding of what they are, opening up to this questioning and this exploration of like, what is God? Or more practical for a lot of us is, what is the self? It's curious. I mean, that's an interesting question. That's an interesting situation to look. What is the self? What is this I that I'm running around, carrying around with me, and in all this conflict with, and stressed out about, and worked up about? What are we talking about here? What's happening right now? So this is really a wonderful thing to do, to open up to that questioning and that curiosity. All right, so I think we can give all of us, we can give a moment to listen to the sound of the bell. Amitofo. Namo Amitofo. So let's continue with this live event. Few more questions on, unless you're there, Mojo, unless you're ready to come up to the stage. So everybody, I'm Bhante Varrapanyo. I'm a 30-year-old American Buddhist monk, currently living in California. This is just a live Q&A. It's an opportunity for people to ask questions. We're live in a few different spaces. So there's a TikTok going. We're here on Reddit, of course. And this is also live streaming on YouTube. So if you're on Reddit and you'd like to see me, kind of see what the situation is on that way, if you go to the comments, you'll see the top comment is a link to the live stream, live on YouTube, all right? I see a lot of interesting questions coming up, and I'm quite interested in those questions and in the people who are here sincerely. But please understand, you may need to wait a moment, or maybe ask your question twice if it's really important to you. And I look forward to getting to it. All right, does that sound good for everyone? Thank you so much. It's very kind. Thank you. All right, so a few questions I want to answer through the YouTube. So someone's asking about Buddhism as it relates to self-defense. The general rule of thumb is to do your best. For some reason, we like to fetishize everything. So we fetishize violence, we fetishize self-defense, we fetishize, especially in the wrong way, like compassion and generosity and patience. We see these as somehow submissive or feminine things. Or we see femininity in that way, I suppose. But really, the Buddhist rule of thumb is do your best. And use your mind and use your present moment experience right now to establish a rich and proper valuation on virtue, on compassion, on the wish for people to end suffering. Is someone going to break into your house and you're going to use kung fu or a shotgun to defend yourself? No, that's probably not going to happen. You're much more likely to die in a car accident or be in a serious car accident. So it's probably a more likely case to say, what do I do when I'm getting into a car accident? Well, hope that you have your seatbelt on, hold on for dear life, and when things settle down, recover and heal and take care. Make sure everybody's all right. Okay? Buddhist view on self-defense. Can you send a child to a temple? You could if you live in a Buddhist country like Thailand or Myanmar. Strauss says, is it possible to channel sexual energy into other productive energy? Okay, so this is a big thing that I think is really important for people to know, especially young people, especially young men. You probably don't need to be masturbating every day. You probably should not be masturbating every day. Why? Because it takes a lot of energy. It really taxes the brain. And, you need to be careful about how you use your sexual energy. And what I've found in my path, my ongoing path of celibacy as a monk, is that sexuality and masturbation, these kinds of things, can lead to a lot of tiredness, or even just focus, like giving a lot of energy to focusing on sex and thinking about sex. It takes a lot of energy, and then you need to like recover and heal and grow, right? So try to take a step back from an over reliance on masturbation or sexual energy to give your life meaning, and try to prioritize a little bit more how to live a meaningful life, how to do more good deeds, how to be an agent of generosity and bringing benefit to your community, to yourself, etc. Okay. So let's see. Tomb, are you there? Tomb or Real King? You have a question?
Yeah, I do.
All right, go ahead. What's your question?
This is probably really too personal for me, but I wanted to ask, is there any way that Buddhism helps you to just physically, like, feel better about yourself? Like, is there any, like, something that, like, helps you to, like, look at yourself and think of yourself better? I don't know how to put this the right way.
Yeah, so definitely. I mean, this is a great question. This is a good question. And we need to find a way to bring a full spectrum approach to how we live our lives. That's what we need to do. And for me, there's a very clear recognition that watching movies or watching anime or eating food that tastes good, or taking painkillers, or drinking alcohol, or having kind of shallow relationships with people online because we share a similar interest, that these things, while can be quite nice and fine and all that, are not a replacement for a full spectrum approach to self-care, to living a meaningful life, to being in community, to having access to resources that can empower us and encourage us to continue growing in peace and wisdom and freedom and a sense of love for ourselves and a stability. So we have to find some way, some path, some access point for this full spectrum of taking care of our life in a way where we can really live a joyful life and be more free. So, quote unquote, spirituality is an avenue for that, and Buddhism in particular is the avenue that I have found to be the most rich and meaningful and workable. So as a monk, Buddhism offers me community. Buddhism offers me a practice of meditation, a way to understand myself, and it also offers like really deep teachings about how to live my life and how to transform my suffering and how to see the world in a way that allows me to engage with it consistently and wholesomely. But I also make mistakes. I also have suffering. There's times when it's difficult to get out of bed as a monk. Sure there is. Why not? Why wouldn't there be? But I have more support. I have more supporting structures for facing that suffering and transforming it. And I've been doing this for a number of years, so some skill is developed, right? Something that might have knocked me down for days and sent me into a spiral, 10 years ago, or what have you, might just keep me in bed a little bit longer in the morning at this point. Longer than I'd like, of course, right? But still, the difficulty is there. So we have a particular meditation practice in Buddhism called metta, which is loving kindness meditation. And I'd like to lead you, Tomb, if you're ready, then I'd like to lead you through this practice so you can just kind of try it out. for yourself? Are you in a position to follow along and to try and to do your best?
I don't think that I am. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. That's all right. That's good that you're honest about that. So, in your case, what I'd recommend is that you get some contact points with people who are skillful at this and have the power to do this, the power to face themselves and express and train the mind to express love and happiness and joy and peace and safety, self-love, self-care. So I'm going to, we're all in a tough situation in a certain way, but it really helps to know that this is not a vague world, and that a lot of people out there are not vague in any sense of the word. That there are, in the same way that the NFL exists and the NBA exists, and you're not confused. You might not like it. You might not agree with it. You might not be interested in it, but you accept that there's an NFL, there's an NBA, that there are 7 foot, 400-pound linebackers running around out there doing God knows what all the time. And that's their experience. That's the level that they're at, right? Well, there's an NBA, there's an NFL for compassion. There's an NFL for loving kindness. Okay, let's say the NLL, the NLKL, the National Loving Kindness League. For wisdom, for compassion, for insight, for understanding, for the capacity to face suffering and transform it moment by moment. And why wouldn't there be? If you can train your muscles, you can train your mind. You can train your compassion. You can train your freedom. You can train your gentleness and your loving kindness. It's not vague at all. In the same way that your self-hate or your self-animosity is not vague. Right? You're not confused about the capacity, the great capacity that you have to self-harm, to express hatred towards yourself and judgment towards yourself, and to beat yourself up. That's not vague. You trust in that. You believe in that. You say, oh yeah, a lot of us do, at least. I know about that for sure. Well, there's a NLLK. There's a National Loving Kindness, NLKL, National Loving Kindness League. And those people have YouTubes. They have videos. They have recordings of them that you can access and touch and connect with. So I'm going to put a comment right now. I'm going to do some caps here. Members of the NLLK. No, the NLKL. Members of the National Loving Kindness League. Hold on. Bear with me one sec. I'm typing this out. National Loving Kindness League. I'm going to put some names down here, okay? Ajahn Brahm. Sharon Salzberg. Okay, big one here. Thich Nhat Hanh. Now, if you're someone who's not interested in understanding yourself more deeply, or meditating, or cultivating self-love, or facing that inner hatred and inner animosity and transforming that to healing, then these names are not going to mean very much to you or be very relevant to you. But if it is, then these names are very relevant to you if you're interested in pursuing that. Just search on YouTube. Hold on. Just search on YouTube their name and a topic you need help with in terms of suffering. And trust me, this is the interesting thing is, like, we have the full trust and the full faith in, like, the reality of the body being trained in NFL and the NBA, etc. But we don't really necessarily have the faith of people's minds being able to train by that. But then you take it to another level, the mind is way more subtle than the muscles or the bones. Like your brain takes 60% of your energy or what have you. So the brain can be trained way more than the muscles can. And it can be continuously trained for decades and decades and decades. So where an NFL player might reach their prime when they're 35 years old, a experienced meditator or a monk or something like this, member of the NLKL, they reach their prime when they're 70 years old, and they're still healthy and happy and wise and powerful. So it's an interesting situation, right? Real King, do you have a question?
Hey, what's good, man? I was just wondering what your thought on substances that occur naturally in nature, like DMT, shrooms, and marijuana. Like psilocybin mushrooms and shit. My fault. I was just wondering what you think about those things.
Yeah, that's good. In general, you don't want to rely too much on that, but there's certainly a distinction between a medicine and a drug that you take to get intoxicated. So that answers your question in some sense. Also, the insights that you get from psilocybin or DMT or something like that, these insights are at the core of what Buddhism is about and what monks are practicing and the Buddhist teachings are about. And it's not coming from the medicine, it's something that's inside of yourself already and you're becoming aware of. If you want to train that and establish yourself in that awareness, then you don't want to rely on a substance outside of yourself to do that, because now you're going to fixate on DMT or mushrooms and fetishize it and get so worked up about it, when really it's just revealing something inside of yourself. And so when you heal from a sickness, you don't keep taking the medicine. And if you rely on the medicine, then it is going to be quite problematic.
I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to answer my question, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Appreciate you too. Okay. Any other questions? The first principle of Buddhism is be good. Jan Guy, are you there? Do you have a question?
Yes, I did. Thank you. I did type it in the chat, but I could, I'd rather say it here.
Sure.
That's great. Now, I am a Christian. Now, is for the meditation that you guys do, I don't know why you do it, but I don't understand at all. I hope you understand. But do you think that I could meditate like you do and still keep my Christian beliefs?
Oh, of
Or
course.
is that more of a question for the other side of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, of course you could, and you could come down to a center. If you have the means, if you have the time, come on down to this monastery in California and spend some time here. It's a quiet, peaceful, open-hearted place, wholehearted place. Sometimes we sing songs together. We do meditation in a humanistic way. Buddhism, especially modern Buddhism, is very humanistic. It's very moralistic. It's not so much about we don't have a creation story. Buddhism doesn't have a creation story. And the Buddha was a human being. So not only could you not only could you be a meditator as a Christian, which you certainly could. You can look into Thomas Merton, for example, who is a Catholic monk who was very, very serious meditator. You could even be a Buddhist and still be a Christian. You'd have to be quite you'd be an interesting person to make that discernment for yourself, but it would be very reasonable, because the Buddha was not ordained by a higher power. The Buddha didn't reject a higher power. The Buddha didn't say that the world is going to end or started in a certain way. The Buddha is just someone who realized nirvana or enlightenment, and then shared that with other people. And a modernist, humanistic understanding of enlightenment is peace, non-self-fixated peace. So you'd have to do some legwork to say, I'm a Christian Buddhist. You'd be like kind of an interesting person to do that. But a lot of what Christianity focuses on as being very important, Buddhism doesn't reject. And the real, like Thich Nhat Hanh, for example, which is one of the names I listed in that comment that I put down below of the national members of the National Loving Kindness League, it's not religious to be antagonistic to any aspect of Christianity.
Yeah, I got you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. A lot
Yeah.
of people would say, you got to go my way or the highway. And he said far from that, and I appreciate that.
Sure.
I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
No, it'd be great to, if you have the time and it's possible, you can visit a Buddhist temple in your area. You can Google Maps Buddhist temple and see if there's one nearby and check it out. And it might be an interesting monk there, interesting people.
Gotcha. Thanks
Yeah.
for that very much.
Thanks, Jan. All right, does anyone else have a question? If you already asked your question but it didn't get answered, please retype it, because some people who asked a question have since left. So I don't want to prioritize that. Half Decent, are you there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, and I just want to say it's not so much about mixing any belief with Buddhism. It's more that Buddhism is a practice. And so your beliefs are whatever your beliefs might happen to be, but the practice of Buddhism is what Buddhists are actually concerned with, like the practice of it, the doing good deeds, the acts of generosity, the meditation that's just focusing on your breathing, relaxing your body, or bringing up qualities of loving kindness in yourself. So what you believe is more kind of your problem. But what you practice is what Buddhism is emphasizing. And so for someone who wants to be a Buddhist, like to formally be a Buddhist or something like that, that would be very simply that you would start following the 5 precepts of don't kill, don't steal, don't lie or speak harshly, don't commit sexual misconduct, and don't take drugs, don't take intoxicants, and then taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So taking refuge in the Buddha would mean kind of that trust or that faith that the Buddha experienced enlightenment, that the Buddha experienced peace. Taking refuge in the Dharma is that you take refuge in the Buddhist teachings to support you on the path. And then taking refuge in the Sangha is that you participate, you go to for support the Buddhist community. So if you want to be a Christian and do all that, that's up to you. That's up to your Christian side. That's not up to, that's not really up to the Buddhists. It's your business at that point. And I do take like a modernist and progressive approach to Buddhism, but I've been practicing, Buddhism and living at temples and, kind of connecting with people who are very experienced for 10 years. And I've been a monk now for, this will be my 5th year as a Buddhist monk. And that means that I've spent, countless hours, sure, in meditation, but also living at Buddhist monasteries in Thailand, in Myanmar, in India, in Nepal, all over the world. So I'm not speaking about this in some kind of, yeah, I'm a Buddhist and I see it this way. This is a real way to practice and understand Buddhism. And I am young, so I'm learning, and I'm also open to other people's positions and senior monks, understanding if they offer it. But this is a real practical way to approach Buddhist teachings, and it's nothing too ridiculous about it. At least from the Buddhist side of things, from people who are academics or they have a rigid view of Buddhism, that's something else. But when it comes to being a practitioner and being a monk and being someone who propagates the Dharma and shares about Buddhism, it's very much a reasonable. Go ahead, half decent lad.
Hi there. Yeah, I was just curious if you had any advice for someone. I make my own schedule because I'm an artist, and I find it's tricky. Some days I'll meditate and I'll feel really good, and I'll sort of just get into my body and do yoga and meditate for a long time. And I'll not really get a lot done those days sometimes because I'm just so enjoying relaxing and feeling and all these kind of things. And then other days I push myself to create work, to make art, and I don't meditate. And I just was wondering if you had any like tips for striking a balance between that sort of dichotomy for someone like myself. It's a bit of a vague question.
It's good.
But
yeah, it's good. Yeah. So we want to aspire to finding the balance point. If you are too extreme in any one direction, if you're too extreme to relax, or if you're too extreme to exert yourself, then the issue is actually not in the doing, but it's in the attachment to the doing in one particular way, which is going to cause problems and cause like the attachment or rejection to doing in any one particular way. There's going to be like an effect from that attachment that's probably going to cause suffering. So you can try to allow yourself to relax as much as you need to. Don't be shy about letting go of that striving for work or that striving to relax, and just allow yourself to be natural. Everything in moderation. Even listening to me, I wouldn't want to be following someone around and listening to them all the time.
Thank you.
And try to bring a perspective to the present moment that you find yourself in, right? Try to bring a perspective of not someone, not something, not relying on the past, not relying on the future. Not relying on someone in particular who's going through this and kind of dealing with all these things. And it's more that there's a showing up happening, or there's a attending to, there's a presentness that's here, but it's not reliant upon that real true person and a real true story. And this is a very personal act to make. So it doesn't, the other people's views and the other people's beliefs, all of that is just, and your beliefs and your views and right and wrong and I should, I shouldn't, all that is kind of put down. And there's just an awareness of this state of being, or this state of awareness. It's an awareness of a state of awareness that doesn't seem to be so reliant upon, the real true character and the real true story. So you don't need to worry so much about it, but you can attend and be present to what's being experienced right now. Yeah. And develop a relationship with that, because that's a joy, right? To be free, to have that freedom of, they say I'm a bad person, they say I'm a good person. All of it's burdensome. We think, oh, having a high status or having a low status, oh, I want the high status. Actually, it's the same energy, it's the same experience. It's just that one you apply a positive connotation to, and the other one you apply a negative connotation to. It's the same kind of energy, a stimulation. So to be free from that is truly a joy. Being a person of no status, high or low. A quick question that came up was about how do monks support themselves? How do monasteries support themselves? It is all through generosity. It is all through non-solicited donations. That's how I'm able to live my life, because people support me to do it. Or more practically, because people support the monasteries that I live at. And some people support me directly as well. But monks don't make money. Monks don't do money-making things. Monks don't sell things. Monks don't participate in that. It's one of the hallmarks of being a monk. Like the real joy of being a monk, and how I'm able to show up here, with a sense of shamelessness, or whatever you want to call it, is that I'm not here to get something from the people who are here. I'm here to offer out and to share, to do good deeds. And I don't have to sell anything. I don't need to, hey, you've been joining my meditation group for a while. Where's the cash? It's not something that I have to do or to worry about, because I'm just supported through generosity, mainly from the Buddhist community, but also just people who are interested in meditation and who are involved with me. Yeah, and I think there's something that's messed up about when you're a meditation teacher, or it's not necessarily that it's going to be messed up, but it does add this certain flavor. And I also have, these feelings come up, but I just don't have to worry about them or be so involved with them, because I live at the monastery and I eat what's offered to me, and the things that I have are just because people are generous. It's not because I've sold something. So there's that feeling of, okay, I want to help this person, but also I need to get paid so that I can have my car and have my house and this and that. And there's something very uncomfortable about that, to be in that space. So I think it affects the kind of work that people do. But there's a lot of wonderful healers and teachers and philosophers out there that do charge, or do making money as a part of their lives directly, and they're also very wise and compassionate. But I feel grateful that I don't have to worry about that, because I have that greedy tendency. Oh, more, more, more. And as a monk, we're just supported because people want us to continue the holy life. Okay, anything else? Half decent lad? Did you want to ask anything else? Okay. So let's bring up competitive. Amitofo. I have visited Bodh Gaya in India. I think it's quite a nice place. Good. We are kind of wrapping up. Are you there, competitive? Vihara is a Buddhist temple. Okay, Vihara is a Buddhist temple. Go ahead, go ahead, competitive. I could hear you there for a sec.
Oh, hi there.
Yeah.
I just joined the chat a few minutes back. I could hear you talk for a few minutes, and it really did sound really wonderful. I think one of the things which I struggle while on my spiritual journey is that I don't know how to control my fear and paranoia, which actually come with a lot of thoughts of
Yes.
mine.
Yes, I hear you.
So, yes, yeah, I think this is something which I've been struggling for over like almost like 3, 4 years.
Yes.
And yes, while I think I have like tried to control it, and my meditation has really helped me on my way. But for some reason, some thoughts do actually give me fear sometimes. And I just want to like eradicate that fear completely, which I'm not able to do. So can you just help me like how to identify and how to like control that fear? If you like could.
Stream entry is empty. Don't rely so much on your psychological mind. If we only know how to rely on our psychological mind, if we only operate in the realm of the created truth, then we are very subject to fear and to delusions and to our reactivity to things that happen.
Absolutely, yes, you're right.
Recognize
It's
that
just
this notion or this feeling, this desire to get rid of your fear completely, it's just like you want to be the queen of Europe or something like that. So it's an aspiration, it's an intentionality to transform your suffering. That's very good. But don't give so much importance to, I want to get rid of fear. I want to be the King of England. Sure, I want to be the King of England. I wouldn't mind. But it's not really practical or a workable way to face my suffering or be with what's happening right now. So it's actually going to obfuscate the path. It's actually going to confuse the path. There are a lot of ways to transform fear, but trying to get rid of it is not really one. Working to accept and to face and to be with that feeling of fear, we can transform it. Okay?
yeah, that does make sense.
Too much reliance on the psychological mind, especially talking a lot in that manner and in that way with people who also rely on that a lot, is going to be problematic, and it's going to make your mind as a whole quite confused and erratic. So you need to be careful and more contemplative, more patient, especially, and reserved. Go slow and listen to talks from Thich Nhat Hanh, from Ajahn Brahm. Okay, if you want to hear people speak in this way, even with more power, with more depth, then you listen to that. You listen to their talks when you're jogging, when you're going out for a walk, when you're doing those normal activities. And it's going to help a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get the insight that you
Yeah,
need, the support to get insight.
yeah, you're
Okay,
right, I
Fig?
think.
Yeah. Go
Yeah,
slow
thank you so much.
and do your best and practice generosity. The children as well. Play with the children. Children don't have so much
Yeah,
fear. So you
yeah, they
can
don't.
give them some treat, give them some gift, and just to play with them.
Mm-hmm.
They want to interact with you because they think you have something they want. Well, it's just a time to play and have a intimate experience, a fearless experience together, non-judgmental, fearless experience. Okay?
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm already feeling better now.
Oh, enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, have a nice day. Bye bye.
Okay, do you have a question?
Yes. Um, More trivial question. I once have been to Korea and saw one template Buddhist, uh, but I didn't enter because this is I don't know how it's social standard there uh, in templates. Do non-Buddhists or tourists can enter and just sit or talk with monks, or how it's work?
Yeah, be brave. So when we want to go to a Buddhist temple or we want to learn more about meditation, um, be brave to look in your area, see if there's a Buddhist temple. There might be a Buddhist temple near you. Use Google Maps. And if you go to Korea or you go to a place where there's a lot of monks, a lot of temples, go in there, be brave, take a look. But you'll be more brave if you actually develop a relationship with Buddhism and meditation on your own. Okay, and develop a relationship with it, then you can bring that to the temple and you can feel more comfortable to do that. Amitofo. All right. Thank you, Emma. MM22J. High school teacher Glenn, let's do some songs. Sing songs with them. Okay, this is a very high level methodology. It's very, very powerful, Glenn. I've got a list of songs that I can share with you, and you can learn to sing these songs with the children, and that's going to bring a lot of benefit to them and to you as well. Bring that quality of freedom and feeling comfortable with themselves. Singing songs together can be really powerful. Okay, our last two questions from Ariana Lee. Or last question, perhaps. See if Ariana is going to come up. From Sri Lanka and self-studying Abhidhamma. I'm not sure, Yeah, so Glenn, search. Well, you can send me a message here on TikTok, Glenn. That's good. But also you can search on YouTube for Plum Village songs. Thank you, Tam. That's very sweet. It's very kind of you. So you can search on YouTube for Plum Village songs. And Mindful Silent, I'm mainly interested in Chan, in Zen. So Ajahn Brahm is a good resource, Mindful Silent. Look into Ajahn Brahm if you know English in that way. I don't think too much about Chat GPT, but definitely AI is going to make a lot of changes in the world. They're really going to be quite interesting and enjoyable. Void spooks about tulpas. Anything that brings up tulpas, you can almost be certain is ridiculous and nonsensical. So any website, any quote-unquote spiritual teacher, anything like that is focusing on this term tulpas, you can almost be certain, or a lot of the times you can be certain, that this is just nonsense and you should turn the other way. It doesn't even matter what tulpas are at this point. Ariana Lee, do you have a question? Yeah, a lot of people are trying to consume, like, to spiritual materialism. A lot of people are trying to continue their, just, it's more habit energy. It's not like people are intentionally doing this, but there's so much habit energy to continue self-identifying with particular experiences and possessing them. And so the same is true for different concepts in Buddhism or in meditation, is that people want to grasp onto them and then use that for perpetuating their self and their belief and their story and their dualities. That's not what Buddhism is for. And, you know, if you want to really understand or have a metric for how to understand what is real spirituality and not real spirituality, and what is high-level meditation resources and what is not high-level meditation resources, is it simple? Is it practical? Is it actionable now? Is it simple? Is it practical? Is it actionable now? And if someone's, you know, if there's a teacher or someone you come across and they're running around and everything that they say is, you know, chakras and about, especially about consuming, like, listen to this sound and, you know, just kind of vibe out or whatever, well, then that's not really high level resource. If it helps you calm down, if it helps you feel peaceful, if it helps you feel safe, then that's wonderful and that's good. But the spiritual practices and the meditation practices need to be something we can act on and be involved with in a very practical way. And the sky should be the limit. So for me, as a monk, and sharing about these things online, if someone is really interested in meditation and Buddhism or spirituality, and they want to get involved wholeheartedly, and they choose to do that, I've got places you can go and live full time. I've got communities that you can go and connect with and get involved with. Live the rest of your life in Asia or with a meditation community. Or join the Discord and join, 20, 30 people meditating together live, and doing events and things like that together. It's not just subscribe, consume, buy, watch something in your home. It's that this is a listening to Thich Nhat Hanh, listening to Ajahn Brahm, getting involved with real meditation, getting involved with doing good deeds more and more is the primer for you to be able to step out more fully and to rely more fully on the spiritual community. Okay? But if you're just, showing up and saying, what communities are you talking about? Who are you? What are you talking about? Okay? I'm not just going to send random people to the temple that I'm affiliated with Italy and say, hey, yeah, go over there. I don't know you, but, here's the address. So you kind of have to get grounded to be practical. And to get grounded, you have to be simple. If you're complicated and jumping around, you can't really be simple, then you can't really be practical. Okay? So let's finish this session up together with some meditation practice, okay? A little bit of a guided meditation. If it's difficult, it's probably good for you. If it's easy, it's probably a little bit less good for you sometimes. But with meditation, for example, if it feels a little bit difficult, yeah, that's okay. Learn how to calm and enjoy and relax that difficulty. That's meditation. So what does someone need to do to be able to join one of those temples as I described? Follow the breadcrumbs. And where's the first breadcrumb? And I'm very followable. So it's up to you, okay? So first thing to practice and if someone ever tells you they are a master at meditation or that they are a master at anything really, they are probably a fool. So be wary. Not always. That's not always the case, but generally that will be the case. If someone says I'm enlightened or I'm stream entry, I've got jhana, or I'm a master, most of the time that person is going to be a fool. But that's not always the case, because some masters will say, you know, look, I'm really with it. Like I am not messing around. They won't say it like this, you know, I wouldn't say it like that either. But I hope to be able to do that at a point. But they'll say like I am not messing around here. Like this is the real deal. Step back and follow, so we can do this together. They won't try to convince you, but they'll say it. That's the other rule. If they're trying to convince you, like, no, trust me, I'm really good, then once again, they're also, you know, they're not at that point. And anyway, whatever point you're at, you don't need to run around trying to convince people. You just need to be yourself and be simple and be wholehearted. So we are going to breathe and be happy with the sound of the bell. And we'll do some chanting at the end, okay, Tom? So we practice meditation, just find a comfortable, stable position. Let your breathing happen in a natural and comfortable way. And really give your attention, give your sincerity and your presence to the breathing, okay? Definitely close your eyes if it's comfortable to do that. As we invite the sound of the bell, come home to your breathing. Let go of your thinking, let go of your commentating, let go of any reactivity. Just sit, just breathe, just be aware. Namo Guan Shu Yin Bu Namo Guan Shi Yin Pu Sa. 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 Namo Guan 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 Yin Pu Sa. Guan Yin Pu Sa. Namo 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 Guan Shi Yin Pu Sa. May all beings be free from their sufferings. In every moment of awareness of suffering, may we all remember the inherent impermanence of that suffering. May we all remember that inside of that suffering is the truth.
This is an audio test. Please remain silent for the best results. This test is designed to ensure the best audio quality experience during your Zoom meetings. Once the test is completed, you will see the results on the screen. Thank you.
May we all recognize in our times of suffering that inside of that suffering is the truth of not someone, not some place, not some time. And may we recognize that there is a unsatisfactoriness.
This is an audio test. Please remain silent for the best results. This test is designed to ensure the best audio quality experience during your Zoom meetings. Once the test is completed, you will see the results on the screen. Thank you.
So may we all realize impermanence And may we all realize not someone, not something, not some time, not some place, but just this present moment as it is here and now.